Good morning, dear beloveds. I am so delighted to be here with you on this glorious Monday, and I really feel like energy has shifted in a big way. Now, whether we assign that to astro weather or whether it's just the archetypal nature of human consciousness evolving, which we are, and that's always happening, who knows? But what I do know is that we've been going through a really intense period of rapid acceleration, and this is just going to keep happening with more and more frequency. It's just the nature of, being alive on the planet at this time, and it's a very good sign that we're on track. And for me, I do think of it in terms of archetypal energy. And we've been given a lot of opportunity to meet our fear, our shadow, our unconscious fear, our subconscious fear, not our conscious fear, but the fear that sits below the surface and is what really motivates our life. And this last month or so has been a really beautiful opportunity to do that, because we are able to then line up more readily with what we're really here to do and our real purpose, which is to be that demonstration of infinite, unlimited grace. And the fear is just the way, if you like, it's just the conduit or the friendly ally that guides us back to that truth. The fear is not the end point. Uncovering our fear and being aware of our fear is not actually what we are here to do. That is simply a step in the process. And what our lives are really all about, as I said, is coming back into alignment with that truth of what we are and being able to occupy that in every moment. So what I wanted to share with you this morning was a meditation and a prayer. And of course, prayer and meditation are very closely aligned. Prayer can be one of the best ways, or one of the most efficient ways, if you like, to guide us into that meditative silent state. But for many of us to go from, dropping off the kids or running around like a headless chicken, or a big weekend, or, whatever else we've had going on in our lives, to move straight into that silent meditative state is just, it's not going to happen. We're in that incoherent beta brainwave state. We simply do not have the capacity to move out of that state of being, that brainwave state, into the kind of alpha and theta brainwave states, which facilitate or allow us to go into that beautiful communion with God, which is truly what meditation is. So we need to have bridges that guide us through into that state of being. And so there's two things that I always encourage you to do at the beginning of your silent meditation, which doesn't have to go on for a long time. It's not a competition. It's not spiritual Olympics. For the first one, though, is heart coherence. And of course, heart coherence is the practice from Heart Math Institute that we sort of elaborated on. And that allows you to go into that state of gratitude for around 3 minutes, just holding your hand or two fingers at the center of your chest. And if you like, that's the lubricant. That gets us in the mood for meditation, and that's what allows us to move out of that heightened brainwave state, that really incoherent brainwave state, where we cannot access the subconscious mind. So why do we want to access the subconscious mind in meditation? Well, as I said at the beginning, the fears that are ruling our life are sitting in the subconscious. And so for us to be able to change our reality, we need to be able to access our subconscious brainwave, our subconscious state of being, not our conscious state of being. What we think we're afraid of is not what we're really afraid of. And the reason we want to access our fear is because our fear is a friendly ally that's guiding us back home. So unless we're willing to move out of this kind of crazy, busy doing state of being, we'll never be able to relax into the brainwave state that will allow us to truly reinscribe our subconscious and move us back into our truth. So we begin with heart coherence, and then we move into another practice which I think is a beautiful precursor to silence, and this is prayer. You can also think of this as working with mantra, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. So I'll share the mantra, and then I'll guide us into that state, and then if you like, you can continue after I'm done to go into your silent meditation, and you may discover that the thing that you find most difficult might be silence, or sitting in silence in meditation. But if you actually prime yourself, if you have the foreplay prior to your meditation, you may discover that you actually have a far more easeful and greater capacity to go into those deep states of meditation than you've given yourself credit for. And those deep states of meditation, saying it again, is where we access the subconscious and we reinscribe by just holding a different vibration. We don't have to go looking around in there. We're not trying to find a problem to fix. We are primed for fear all of the time. So we're holding fear in our physiology, in our subconscious all of the time. So what we're doing is simply giving ourselves the opportunity to reinscribe through our vibration. So let me break it down a little bit. Let's go back a little bit. So I'm going to guide us through heart coherence and then through the use of the prayer or the mantra to get us into that prime state to go into silence. I won't stick around for too long, but if you'd like to stay in silence, then please do, because everything is better with meditation. The other thing to understand about meditation is that this is where we encode consciousness. So if we're not preparing ourselves for our day or doing this multiple times per day, we're actually then just passively receiving reality rather than consciously encoding reality. And I know which I would prefer. I don't want to just be the recipient of all this energy that's bouncing around, or all this energy that's coming out of chaotically out of my subconscious and kind of creating a reality that I have just taken my hands off the wheel to experience. I'd much prefer to be consciously encoding my reality. And so meditation is the way we do that. And of course, this is not about holding a particular vision. This is simply about holding a vibration that takes us as close to our God consciousness as possible. So what's the prayer? The prayer comes from one of the lessons in A Course in Miracles, and this has just absolutely blown me away. It's so beautiful and so simple and elegant, and I just want to, oh, hello, sister. I've got you on my to-do list to call today because you're back in the country. Hi. So the prayer that we're going to work with this morning is, by grace I live. By grace I am released. By grace I give. By grace, I will release. So, by grace, I live. By grace, I am released. By grace, I give. By grace, I will release. And in these two statements, or these four sentences, we sort of have the formula for our spiritual freedom, for our freedom from every fear that we hold, is that when we try to go and meet our fear or our life situations or anything that's happening to us that we don't love, trying to figure out how to do it on our own, we are separating ourselves from God's power. When we move into this prayer, however, we are aligning ourselves with God's power. So we're actually letting ourselves be moved. Grace, to me, is the experience of God. What does God feel like? God feels like grace. And so when I say, by grace I live, by grace I am released, all those places that have come up in the last month, all those shadow fears that have risen up, if I try and solve them from a human paradigm, I'll spend the rest of my life. That's called talking therapy. If I try to fix every single fear or problem that I perceive around me through my own human effort, then I am separate from my actual power, my actual true source of power, which is God's grace. So this prayer is saying, by grace I am released. Everything that is holding me, or I perceive to be holding me away from what I truly am, all those places that God has not been allowed to enter into my being, and of course that's simply my perception because God is in everything, then I am able to allow God's grace to do the work. It is not up to me to try and solve this. And then the second part of the statement is where this, to give is to receive. Our service is what motivates our life, and if it isn't, then our life will always feel incongruent. By grace I give. Not through my own pressure, my own steam, not putting pressure on myself to be perfect all of the time, not trying to figure out how to do it. That's called martyrdom. By grace I give. By grace I will release. So all those places where I'm holding on to others and their perceived failures, and I'm trying to get them to meet my perception of what is right or wrong, or where I'm trying to play God in the world rather than to be God. This statement, by grace I give, by grace I will release. I don't have to figure it all out. I don't have to figure out how to forgive the person who's wronged me. I don't have to figure out how to forgive this life situation that feels unbearable. I don't have to figure it all out on my own. I simply need to be willing to let God's grace move me and guide me. And so these words have just been such a balm to my soul in these last few days since I was looking at this lesson in A Course in Miracles. And it just feels like something so generous and so easy to just invite into our being that I wanted to share it with you. So let me guide you, let all of us, through the heart coherent state, and then I'll just guide us through this prayer. And then, as I said, if you want to let that lead you into a full experience of silent meditation, you may discover that what you thought was impossible, to sit in silence for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, you're now primed to be able to do. This is the foreplay to your silent meditation, to sit with God and let God be with you and to consciously encode your reality. Okay. So let's just close down our eyes if you're safe to do so. If not, just listen and you can come back at a later time. Take a deep breath in through your nose and let it go out through your mouth. Letting go of all the effort required to bring you to this point in your day. And do that a few times until you feel your body really relax into your seat. And with eyes closed and breath deepened, we're signifying to our nervous system that we're very safe. We begin, even now, to move out of that incoherent beta brainwave state. Moving into alpha. And as we do, our electromagnetic field surrounding our body, and in particular our heart, begins to unfurl. All the rushing, the busy, the worrying, the doing has tightened us up. And with this simple gesture of slowing down, we begin to open to our true size and shape. And now taking 2 fingers or the palm of your hand to the center of your chest, this touch signifying to your physiology that you are deferring to your heart brain, your heart's intuitive intelligence. And bringing to mind now a memory, an event, an image that evokes strong feelings of effortless gratitude, joy, freedom. Keep it simple, something that is easeful for you to connect to, so that that feeling state of gratitude is with you without effort. And keep your mind focused on that feeling state, that image that evokes that feeling, with laser-like focus. This is not relaxation, it's not meditation. Here we are consciously encoding reality to the vibration set point that we want to inhabit. Keep bringing your mind back. Let those feelings expand and feel your electromagnetic field moving further out from your body with every breath. Now taking your hands and placing both of them over your heart or into Anjali Mudra prayer position. And you can repeat out loud or silently after me. By grace, I live. By grace, I am released. By grace, I give. By grace, I will release. By grace, I live. By grace, I am released. By grace, I give. By grace I will release. And let those words sit inside of your being. And feel the truth that we are not doing this life alone radiate through every cell. And if you feel to now, just lower your hands to your lap and stay in this state of stillness, moving into silence for as long as feels comfortable for you. And let that prayer have time to move out from your being to reach the ears of God. And let that time that you sit in silence be long enough that God can reach back to you. And whenever you're ready, simply deepen your breath. Bow your head in gratitude to the truth that you are occupied by God's grace at all times, and it is this energy that motivates our life when we let it. And bow your head. And whenever you're ready, open your eyes, but I invite you to stay in that state for as long as you can.